Hello again, it's Garson, and today we're going to combine the power of both the Arcane Archer and the Swarmkeeper, as well as answering some of your questions. So without further ado, let's see if we can combine the two. I've got some good ideas. Here we go. Alright, so Hunter's Mark. Let's pull up the battle log, right? So, obviously, we have some cool reactions here, right? But if we want to keep it simple, we could just do some psychic damage with our Swarm, which was pretty cool because thanks to you guys, you gave me the idea, hey, wait, doesn't the Shadow Shot also give me some extra damage? And if we were concentrating on this little strange conduit ring, that's a lot of psychic damage. And before we even double it up with the Resonance Stone, how much can we do? Boom! Kaboom! Nice crit. Oh my gosh. And even our regular shots, when we're concentrating, we do some psychic damage. So we really keep the theme going, the extra psychic damage going. And then, who's this mysterious guy back there? It's a little bit more of an advanced setup. I bet we can always get the blinding effect on this, or even the moth effect. We have two chances, but we should almost always get the blinding effect if we combine the two and we set it up right. Ready? Kaboom! Blinded! Guaranteed. So if I don't have to blind them, I can either teleport or do extra damage. And if you have that Resonance Stone, oh yeah, it's a lot of psychic damage. Big trouble. Kaboom! Who is this not Wolburn? Well, we'll find out by answering some of your questions, because we're not just here for this idea. In fact, this was submitted by you guys, gave me the right kind of idea. I was fascinated by it. But I'm also going to answer the rest of your Patch 8 questions. I'm trying to catch up. We got a lot today, so we'll just dive into some notes. I'll keep it nice and simple, a little sloppy too, sorry about that. But we're gonna do the main body is Arcane Swarm Archer. It's very easy to build, and there's two ways to build it, right? It's not necessarily a build so much as a proof of concept. So what I'm gonna do is reload this and say a big thank you to you guys while I reload in. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna make this super easy. The biggest part of this video is just answering some of your questions, getting back on track with that, getting a little caught up on my end, and I'm also gonna show you some easy or advanced ways to do the Arcane Swarm Archer, because these two new subclasses actually mix pretty well. So I'll go over the key points of what Archer brings to the table, Swarmkeeper brings to the table, and then finally how to do two different ideas here with Shadowheart and this little not Wolburn. But where does this guy come from anyway? Well, he comes from answering your questions. So if you want to support the channel and you like the video, just watch the whole video. That's going to be the biggest help. And in fact, by watching, I might even answer some of your questions. If I don't, though, keep in mind, all this is subject to change, but I would love to hear your question as well. So leave one in the comment. But yeah, also some of these, the audio kind of cut out while recording. So we'll just have the lovely Basilisk, Baldur's Gate music playing in the background. Let's get right into it though. So Martin Bravo. Let me pull up his question in a clip as usual. Let me pull this up here. This should be it right there. And Martin was saying, can you Divine Strike, Necrotic Divine Strike, Divine Smite, and Touch of Death all in the same attack? And in fact, wait, pull that back. Thanks to Formatomi, if you turn on Sneak Attack and make it Do Not Ask, you can make a Sneak Attack, Offhand Attack, and Divine Strike for more damage. So by using Formatomi's little idea there, I tested it, and in fact, I can answer your question. Check this out. So what we're going to do is use a Death Cleric with a little bit of Paladin. So we get Divine Smite, Divine Necrotic, and the Touch of Death, just like you wanted. And keep in mind, this means you could probably use this idea with other combinations using these reactions, right? Like Formatomi said, what you want to do is just set them to not ask so that they'll automatically trigger on a hit. Is it costly for effects? Yes, but it's a little poke of death. This is crazy. And I was like, wait, it works? Like the moment I tried it, I was like, I just love the impact of a poke just blowing someone up. So the best part about this is, I guess the Callous Glow Ring just rides off of all this too. But yeah, I was just testing it. I was like, oh, this will be fun if it works, but watch. It's the Death Poker build. I don't know. It's crazy, but yes, indeed, you can actually pop off all of these effects on one. So use the technique of just knowing how to, control the reactions. I guess if you build a character like this, you would have to keep going into your reactions page for certain fights or certain turns. But it works. You can pop off a lot of simultaneous effects. And thank you, Formatomi, for the idea. I got to finally test it and show it on video. That was really cool. I'm going to play around with that with Sneak Attack for my own sake. All right. So Lena Chun, let's go ahead, pull up another little clip here, keep it rolling. All right, so Lena was asking, so if you use Arcane Battery to cast a Shadow Blade, is it going to actually like swap out the staff that has the Arcane Battery effect, like the legendary staff here? So Arcane Battery lets you cast any spell for free, doesn't matter if you upcast it. So if we make a highest level Shadow Blade, does it now just, yes, it swaps out. However, this is if you don't have the capability or the feat to dual wield, right? Dual wielder would allow you to have a Shadow Blade and a staff, and instead of just taking my word for it, I went ahead and recorded it for you, okay? So if you don't have dual wield feat, it's definitely going to replace it, but you do get the ability to use the free Arcane Battery upcasting of it. If you do have dual wielder and you don't want to lose maybe Marco Heshkir's special effects, then just grab the dual wielder feat and then you won't debuff it, or maybe cast it first and then you're good to go, right? So turns out it does actually let you cast it. If you want to retain the effect from the staff, maybe get dual wielder, or just, you know, use Arcane Battery and then equip, well, I guess you need dual wielder. So hopefully that answered your question. That's a pretty good one. What about Vince's? Let me get his question. This is actually pretty funny because I was comboing it with the first question, but Vince was saying, hey, have you ever used Loviatar's mace with the, well, he said the Justiciar gloves. Sorry, I missed out on that. But the Loviatar's mace actually has a pretty interesting reaction with the Death Cleric level 6 Inescapable Destruction, where you overcome any necrotic resistances, which is funny because this thing gives you necrotic resistance, but every time you hit with it, it'll make a short area hit with necrotic damage, right? So with the level 5 Inescapable Destruction, all necrotic resistance is ignored. So does that mean it ignores my own resistance? Well, this thing is actually very interesting, especially if you combo the previous question where all these things can pop off in effects. I'll try and make it simpler. As you can see here, when I pop this, everybody in the immediate area gets hit with necrotic damage, but including myself. Now, normally I would take the necrotic damage but resist it, so it wouldn't hurt me as bad. However, thanks to Inescapable Destruction, I take the full necrotic damage. So that kind of hinders me a little bit if I were to use this. Now, what's really funny is if we use the first question's reactions and we pop off two effects like this, it'll like work with it doesn't add damage to the area effect, but it'll pop off multiple instances of it since it's considering it multiple attacks. So I found that pretty funny, a good way to kill yourself while attacking others. So pretty good question, Vince. There's more we could play around with that idea alone, but I just didn't have any good ideas off the top of my head. Very interesting. Now this is where some of the audio cuts out in these clips, so I do apologize, but we'll keep it rolling with some more questions from Coal Creep. Let me go ahead, pull this one up. All right, so just enjoy the lovely background banter, but okay, so let me pause this. I wondered how codes like spell this Arcane Archer shots. Do you think Quicken Meta Magic or maybe the Dragon Blood Sorcerer level 6 passive? Does any of this work? I was thinking for maybe the Poisoner's Robe, the poison damage, but I'm just not sure. So I said, sure, why not? I don't think it'll work, but I've gotten all the tools I think you wanted me to. I am a level 6 Dragon Sorcerer with the poison, so I can add my Charisma modifier. I didn't get a lot of Charisma, but I do have 2, so it would at least add 1 damage to poison spells. I have the Poisoner Robes, which would add some dice rolls to poison damage on poison spells, and let's just see if poison or meta magic works on this grasping arrow, right? So as you can see, when I use any kind of meta magic, distant, twin, or hasten, or quicken, it doesn't really light up the arrow, and I've tested, it doesn't really do anything with it. So I guess it's not, this is why I said these arrows are kind of interesting. They're spells, but they're not spells, right? But you don't get any of the bonus damage for shooting them from your Dragon Sorcerer, from the poison trails on the Poison Robe, so none of that's really working. What I'm going to do is use a poison spell to show you I do indeed get the bonuses from Sorcerer and the chest piece, the cloth piece. So that's the Poisoner Robes, and then that right there, Charisma +1, would be my Dragon bonus. So unfortunately, once again, the arrow doesn't really add any damage to it at all. So, man, that would have been a really cool synergy, but yeah, sadly, it doesn't really work together. They're not really considered spells sometimes. Other arrows also didn't really work, but good question, because, hey, maybe they do change something about this, or maybe we do find one of the arrows does work with it, and I missed something. All right, so let's keep moving on. Let's see. Here we go with the Elemental Drake. Oh, actually, a little special shout out here. So I'm going to pause this for a second. Maushard Chuddy, he said, "Rip, I didn't get reference. Thanks for that vampiric touch anyway." So I was looking for his comment. I still couldn't find it, but I apologize. So instead, I'm going to answer your question here. So, could you check if the elemental cleaver stacks with the draconic element weapon from the Drake Throat? So let's play this clip real quick. What I did is I went ahead. I'm going to add in the Broodmothers here. I'm going to use the Elemental Cleaver like he's asking. We're going to use the Drake Throat to add Thunder to itself. And I'm going to use Elemental Cleaver to throw the Drake Throat. And we'll see if its own element gets added onto the throw damage, as well as other boosts like the Broodmother, okay? So I'm going to Enrage. That allows me to use the Cleaver. Cleaver is going to let me add, I think I went with Acid just to show the colors, keep it easy to coordinate. Okay. And of course, if I heal myself, I'll actually add the Broodmothers. So right now I only have the two elements, the Drake Throat element, Thunder, and then the Acid from Cleaver. Okay, so you probably see right there, but we'll open this up. Yeah, you don't get the Thunder from Drake Throat. So the straight Drake Throat element doesn't boost to it. So while we're on that mark, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and heal myself this round. That's going to trigger Broodmothers and add poison to the weapon. And we'll see if I throw that, will that also add? Just see if you had that question or any others. Some riders do work with this, but it seems like most don't. Like I think Callous Glow Ring would work. I've seen it in the past, but I don't think anything really else works with it. But we'll see. Alright, so there we go. And did tons of damage with acid and, you know, throwing it, but not really any other elements. So no, unfortunately, doesn't work. But also shout out for the Vamp Touch build. Or the build idea and the video idea. I really appreciate you. I'm sorry I missed out on the comment. I wanted to screen cap it. But we'll move on. Okay, so Paddle. Paddle's question with the gnomes, right? Yeah, okay. So this is where our little buddy Not Wolburn comes from. I couldn't exactly get Wolburn to come on over. He was busy, you know, fighting the Gondians. So how far, let's say, a gnome named Wolburn could throw as compared to, you know, others if we gave them the new giant form Rage plus a Colossus elixir? Well, I have the same setup on Shart plus this, you know, Hireling, and they have the same. Once they enrage, they're going to have the same double enlarge effect that you can stack with the new Path of the Giants, right? So if we go ahead and enrage with both of them, they're both going to be 2 sizes larger than what they started out, right? So does this affect throwing distance on weapons? Does it affect throwing on throwing somebody else, right? Because you are a size lower than normal when you are a gnome. So will it have any kind of crazy effects if you have more of a natural 20 max strength, right? Okay, so we throw about 60 feet, right? And then we'll take the gnome and we'll see if we can throw the same distance with the knife. No difference here. Still about the same distance. This is basically the same because I can't really make it super perfect, right? So, okay, it doesn't seem like there's any difference on throwing stuff. So size didn't really change that, just my strength bonuses. All right. And now when it comes to kicking, what about, do we kick this guy any further? If I kick him this far, okay, and I come over with Shadowheart around him and I give him a kick, will he go right back where he started? Roughly speaking, yeah, he does. So yeah, it's not really any worse or better. And what if I pick him up and throw him? I love the suplex in this class, dude. I can't wait to play. Alright, and Shart's gonna suplex right back over. So it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference, or I can't discern any real difference. But yeah, I was having too much fun with this, so we'll cut that clip for now. But yeah, it doesn't seem like... I know there's gonna be some differences being a gnome, but it doesn't seem like it affects most things anyway. But good question, Paddle. But finally, we're gonna come to the final question of the video. What I'll do is pop out... I think I have his question here. Yep. Okay, so Guwop, he said, can you make a Swarmkeeper in an Arcane Archer build? I wanted to do one once patch 8 comes out, but I don't even know how it's gonna, if it's gonna work out, how it's gonna work out, right? So there's actually 2 ways that I know, at least from playing both classes. I played both of these. This was run 1 with the new subclasses. This is just the new finished run 2 we talked about yesterday. Well, I love your suggestion because I'm not here to do build videos per se, but I do want to show this example, this proof of concept, because it's fascinating, right? There's two ways you're actually going to be able to make this work. Let's talk about it for a moment. What does Arcane Archer actually bring to the table here? What you're going to get is your arcane shot arrow ammo, right? This comes back on short rest, so it's very easy to manage. Then you have these arrows that not only do some additional damage depending on the shot, but they could also have an effect like blinding, right? And it just so happens that this one does psychic damage while blinding. Interesting. Let's take note of that. But as a fighter, without saying too much, you do get a lot of extra feats. So if you go 6 or even 8 levels, you could still get a lot of feats, which would really help you, you know, customize how you want to approach this for the easy example or the advanced example I'm going to give you, right? And essentially, though, in Arcane Archer, you are kind of forced into being mostly an archer. It's in the name, so you are going to use ranged weapons. The arcane shots do always do the damage as long as you can land a regular shot. It's the same thing. You're just landing a shot. You at least always get the benefit of doing extra damage if the arrow does, like, say, you know, psychic damage on this one, or I think we had grasping earlier, right? Okay, now here's the thing. If you've seen my other videos on Arcane Archer explaining how the arrow shots actually work, it's always based on int plus any other kind of bonuses you can add. Let's say this guy's loaded with them. There could be something that raises the spell save DC, and that's great. But otherwise, it's really going to be based on your intelligence. So if you're not spec'd into this, really all you're trying to do is land with dexterity, and you'll get some bonus damage. But otherwise, you would really want to know how this works. You would really want to invest in intelligence. Even if you multi-class, it's not going to change this little truth, okay? Now, Shadow and Beguile arrows both offer little effects, but if you don't care about them, you can take either or, and they do the same bonus 2d6 psychic damage, which is funny because the Swarmkeeper has 3 choices, doesn't it? So Swarmkeeper, when you take a shot, you actually get little reaction attacks, right? And depending on the swarm, you could get piercing, lightning, or psychic damage, all right? So at level 3, you pick your subclass. Now, Ranger also has some fighting style. So what's funny about this combo is you'll have both archery and, say, maybe 2 weapon fighting style, or maybe archery and defense style. So you'll get 2 styles out of mixing these two. You get Hunter's Mark for this, which could raise the damage of not only, you know, your swarm attack, but your weapon damage as well. Doesn't seem to interact with the arcane shots, if you were wondering, but still a really good combo, because once per turn, you have a reaction, like I said. And you have one of 3 reactions. We've covered this in some previous videos, but the Moth Swarm does a bonus of 1d6 psychic damage, like I was saying. Also, you can choose to potentially blind them. This is the Moth special feature. Now, it always uses wisdom. So just like Arcane Archer, if you multi-class with Swarmkeeper, it always uses wisdom for trying to get this effect off. Otherwise, just you could build for damage, right? So special move effect with whatever swarm. For Moth, it's going to be blinding. And even on multi-class, it's always going to be wisdom. So then let's mix the two and go towards 2 different ways of running this based on those 2 features that seem to collaborate really well, right? Like I said, you're going to get potentially, or not potentially, you're always going to get some bonus damage once per turn with the swarm. So with moths, that would be bonus psychic damage. And if you can land your arcane shot, it's just the same as landing a ranged attack, right? You're at least always getting more psychic damage. So 2d6 plus 1d6, hey, that's like a ranged smite. Here we are again, ranged smites. But anyway, there's 2 focuses. The easy idea right there is what I said. You want to basically use your ammo, which you can get a lot at level 7. You get 7 shots per short rest. So you can be dishing out a lot of psychic smites per turn, right? With this little fun idea, okay? Now, the advanced idea, we'll see in a moment, we're going to focus in on using actually wisdom and intelligence, but somehow still be able to land our shots no problemo, okay? Both of these are going to benefit from flat spell save DC gear, like I was talking about. If you know ways of raising your spell save DC, like flat bonuses that end up causing your, you know, massive spell save bonus there, or if you use Arcane Acuity, which I'm not going to show in this video, but Arcane Acuity is essentially, if you know how to use it, every time you're shooting an arrow, you're building that spell save DC. So both could be really good in both of these builds. I'm just showing you 2 extreme different cases as a proof of concept. So Shart is the easier one. I highly recommend. Anybody could play this. It's very easy, and there's some really cool bonuses. All right. So basically, you fire and forget. You just have to focus on dexterity. Beautiful thing about fighter is it's very easy to, you know, get enough dexterity here. And you might as well focus on wisdom, not intelligence, if you're not concerned with either of the effects. At least this way, you would have some saving throw bonuses from dangerous spells like, you know, hold person, or, you know, just getting zapped or charmed or something like that. Okay, so you have high attack, high armor class. It's simpler, it's easier, and it does plenty of damage because you have the psychic bonus from once per turn on the reaction, right? We could combo this with Hunter's Mark, get even more psychic damage thanks to this. And when we're concentrating, we can actually use a ring called the Strange Conduit Ring to add even more psychic damage, which always, as long as we're concentrating, is always happening on an attack, right? So very simply put, you concentrate on Hunter's Mark, you know that it's going to add more damage to your swarm attack, it's going to add more damage to your piercing damage, right? But now it's also, thanks to the ring, adding psychic damage all the time, right? And if you have the brain drain gloves, you can even help your team out with this debuff called mental fatigue, lowering your enemies you know, saving throws. And that's just, you know, basically as simple as I can make it for you. So per turn, you're going to get bonus damage from Hunter's Mark and your swarm attack, plus if you're willing to use your ammo, you can do a lot of damage, right? Boom. We'll add that in. This is not only going to be the 1d6 from your swarm, but also your Hunter's Mark swarm. Boom. So we got a nice 4 and 5 out of that. Does a 9 extra damage, okay? And it could be even higher if we know what we're doing with the Resonance Stone. But yeah, if you just want to use this as almost like a Psychic Smite, that's kind of crazy. Now the first only one hit per turn is going to be the strongest, but that doesn't mean you can't just keep shooting, right? Ooh. And remember, every shot while you're concentrating on Hunter's Mark has a little psychic damage, so you're always getting that extra effect of mental fatigue on your opponents, right? So that's a real nice, easy fire and forget, and it's helping the rest of your team with mental fatigue while doing massive damage. So really simple setup. Can't stress that enough. So this combo definitely works. And at level 7 fighter, you'll have plenty of ammo because they upped this for some reason. I'm not going to complain, especially for recommending such an easy build. And Hunter's Mark is going to give you bonus damage, that concentration leading to that extra psychic damage. So it's decent for wisdom. It's decent wisdom for arcane synergy. You can add a little more damage with that. There's damage and saving throws bonuses too. The Resonance Stone, keep in mind, and we'll show that off in a moment, but you can double up your psychic damage for some crazy damage, some really crazy stuff. Ending in Act 2, you can get the Resonance Stone. So Act 3 pretty much is a cakewalk now. All right, spell save DC gear or arcane acuity would help out as you shoot. Let's say you had the arcane acuity helmet. Right here. So it says right here, every time you deal damage with a weapon attack, you'll get 2 more arcane acuity. So both the intelligence from fighter and wisdom from ranger would slowly be going up by 2 per shot. So 15, 17, 19, so on. And that could help with casting a scroll, or maybe you do want the effect of the shadow arrow. But if that's your case, right, you want to use the effects, well, maybe use acuity or just flat bonuses on this guy. Ready? So this is the exact opposite approach. Both are really good. Both are going to be shooting and doing plenty of damage with their arrows. Both are fighters, so they can get plenty of feats. But this would be the Arcane Swarm's true potential. You have use your dexterity gloves to focus on wisdom and intelligence instead. So your character would literally have maybe 16 intelligence and 17 wisdom, and you get the dexterity gloves pretty early if you know what you're doing. In the Kresh, these give you flat out 18 plus another +1 attack. These are some of the best gloves in the game. Gloves are super competitive anyway, but this is what it can, this is why it's so good. It enables you to do crazy builds like this, okay? So now you can focus on this at the start. If you took Resilient Wisdom, you're actually gonna have a saving throw bonus, like I said. So you get more bang for your buck, more saving throw with the proficiency, plus you go up to 18, so now you have a flat 18, and later on with all the feats you're getting from fighter, you can actually go up to 18. So these are, it's very easy to track how good intelligence is now because wisdom's the same. So any bonus we give to the fighter intelligence, which we cannot see, is also applying to the wisdom. So now essentially, until they fix this, you know, little spite there, but until they fix this, now you can actually track both stats because they should be the same spell save DC. Okay, now if you make it really high from tons of spell save DC gear This is all the way up to 24, which means this will basically always pop off both effects. And you also have double the chances because your swarm will try to blind them with wisdom and your arrow will try to blind them with intelligence, but they're the same number, so you get equal chances to blind them, right? So both stats benefit from all this gear, and you're very likely to land the effects because you're always getting twice the chance on that first arrow. Plus you're doing, you know, extra psychic damage if you want. So double the chance to blind, still doing extra psychic damage. And of course, if you have the Resonance Stone, both of these builds are very, very strong, right? So let me see if Shadowheart has it. Pull this over here. There it is. Give that to Not Wolbrun. Okay. So now if someone's close enough to you with the Steeped in Bliss condition, they will take extra psychic damage. So this is going to definitely hurt. There we go. And we can still just concentrate on this. Okay. And remember, well, there's one way to get mental fatigue using the glove Shart has, but there is a ring that if they fail a saving throw, you know, like being blinded, you can add mental fatigue, making it easier to keep getting it or helping your team. So both builds can add mental fatigue with these psychic arrows, but you might just kill them, you know? You just might kill him. So we blinded him. If we blinded him, there's no reason to go for another blinding swarm. We'll just get more psychic damage, right? And we just keep popping these off for the sake of psychic damage. And the best thing about blind is the whole rest of your team actually gets advantage against that attacker. So you're helping the team in more ways than one, which is really why I like the shadow arrow so much. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of crazy. Just walk a little close enough. Now he's steeped in bliss. And now he's taking tons of extra damage. Okay. And you're almost always blinding him with that high spell save DC. So that is the power of mixing both of these, especially with the cool synergy between the Psychic Swarm and the Psychic Arrows. So, hopefully that helped you out. Answered your question, can you build it? How would you go about it? Just one idea. 2 different ways to do it, an easy and advanced way. And I hope that helped you because I play builds like this in these playlists. I finish up runs on honor mode. I list them up for playlists so you can jump around to the axe if you want to see a specific how you level this up or do these builds actually work. Well, this is what I try to do. I take them from the experiments into honor mode and see how well they perform because I want to inspire you to play honor mode and see if you can get your own golden dice for the first time or go back into it, challenge yourself, play really cool characters like this, mix and match, you know, just the fundamentals. I'll give you the basic building blocks and you can go build cool stuff like this and maybe be honor mode with it, because I like to do it on the live stream. It's more fun watching people and hearing if they beat honor mode or trying out characters they never did before. So I really appreciate that if you want to come in. Otherwise, watching the whole video really is the best way to support the channel. Maybe you want to drop a comment and ask a question and I'll try and answer it for all the patch 8 craziness we've been able to come up with. So real quick, I appreciate you guys. You guys are ultimately my sponsors, and thank you so much for watching. If you want to support it even more, the support is as low as it's going to be here on YouTube, and I really appreciate that. All right, I'll catch you in the next live stream. Until then, have a blessed one.